This is CBN NewsWatch.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch for this Wednesday, June 3rd. I'm George Thomas. Today, another night of protests across America, this time largely peaceful. But the violence the night before claimed the life of a beloved retired police captain in St. Louis. President Trump taking action to protect religious freedom around the world. Planned Parenthood honors its founder, Margaret as a hero, but others point out her racist views. We'll show you her true history. And we'll bring you a look at Christian comedian Michael Jr.'s new movie for Father's Day. Those stories and much more on today's edition of the broadcast. But we begin with another wave of protests across the country overnight from coast to coast. But this time, protests, as I mentioned, were largely peaceful compared to the violence of previous days. Caitlin Burke has the story.
As city leaders across the country continue to impose strict curfews, protesters continue to defy them. Tuesday's protests were more peaceful than in previous days. George Floyd's family led a crowd of 60,000 in Houston, delivering a heartfelt message of heartache and peace.
We're going to shed tears today, but we're not going to drop a drop of blood in Houston, Texas today.
The Houston police chief marched among them in solidarity, hugging demonstrators.
It's visceral, the pain and the anger.
Still, in many cities, the peaceful demonstrations by day are replaced by violence overnight. Near Boston, groups threw fireworks and water bottles at officers. And in New York, thousands of protesters defied an 8 p.m. curfew, resulting in hundreds of arrests. Police are investigating this video showing a car slamming into an officer in a hit and run in the Bronx. The officer is in serious condition. Police tactics are also under scrutiny. In Atlanta, 2 officers were fired and others faced discipline after smashing in the windows of this car and tasing the college students inside before violently dragging them out. Meanwhile, plans for the funeral of George Floyd are coming together. 3 memorial events are scheduled for Thursday in Minneapolis. He will eventually be buried in Houston, where he spent most of his life. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Caitlin, thank you so much. Among those killed in the violence in recent days is a retired St. Louis police captain. 77-year-old David Dorn was shot and killed early Tuesday by people who broke into a pawn shop. The shooting and theft was apparently posted on Facebook Live, but the video has since been taken down. A longtime colleague said Dorn was a gregarious and outspoken leader who mentored young people and insisted on strict ethical conduct among his employees. He was on the St. Louis police force for 38 years before retiring back in 2007. Dorn was found dead on the sidewalk in front of the pawn shop. His wife told the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that Dorn was a friend of the shop's owner and frequently checked on when the alarms went off at the place. No arrests have been made. Leaders of the Southern Baptist Convention, also known as SBC, have addressed the death of George Floyd and the protests. Dr. Ronnie Floyd, CEO and president of SBC, told church leaders that its members cannot stay silent on racism, adding, quote, "We must stand in solidarity with one another. We must continue to work with compassion until justice is served, and we must commit to eradicate racism in all its forms." Turning to political news, President Trump is looking for a new state to host this summer's Republican National Convention. The decision comes after North Carolina refused to guarantee the event could be held in Charlotte without restrictions because of concerns over the corona outbreak virus. And Republicans in Northwest Iowa voted out Congressman Steve King in Tuesday's primary. King had served 9 terms in Congress, but had a history of making controversial remarks on white supremacy and immigrants. Some Republicans had warned King could lose the general election in November. Coming up, President Trump calls on the nations of the world to end the persecution of religious believers and signs an executive order to spend tens of millions of dollars to advance the cause of religious freedom internationally. We'll have that story when we come back.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Welcome back. You are watching the CBN News Channel. President Trump made his second visit to a religious site in less than 24 hours Tuesday, this time to bring attention to the fight for international religious freedom. He then signed an executive order on the issue. Here's CBN's White House correspondent, Ben Kennedy.
President Trump called upon the nations of the world to end religious persecution. The executive order even locks down $50 million for programs that advance international religious freedom. President Trump visited a D.C. shrine Tuesday, honoring Pope John Paul II in an effort to focus on international religious freedom.
Because there's so much religious persecution in the world, it also hurts all the other human rights.
Sam Brownback, the ambassador at large for religious freedom, says the executive order is needed now more than ever, as around 80% of the world's population live in countries where religious freedom is threatened, restricted, or banned. Ambassador Brownback, what kind of impact can this order have?
I think it can be massive. Part of my modeling in this program is wanted to have religious freedom be like the human trafficking issue. That it be one that it embrace everybody and it goes grassroots.
Under the order, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo will develop country-specific action plans for prioritizing religious freedom. To top that, all personnel assigned to positions overseas will now receive international religious freedom training.
To sum it all up is it makes religious freedom, international religious freedom, a whole of government approach on our basic foreign policy apparatus.
Now the executive order comes as Christian persecution and anti-Semitism are on the rise around the world. North Korea, Afghanistan, and Somalia top the list as the most dangerous countries for Christians, according to Open Doors USA. Ben Kennedy, CBN News, the White House.
Still ahead, Margaret Sanger founded Planned Parenthood, and she's a hero to many liberals, but others say her supporters are trying to whitewash her racist history. We'll take a look at the truth about Margaret Sanger when we come back.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back. Margaret Sanger founded Planned Parenthood, and it hails her as a hero, but ignores the racism behind her ideals. When it comes to the woman at the heart of the abortion industry, is there a coordinated effort to change history? Charlene Aaron takes a look at that question.
As founder of the American Birth Control League, which later became Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger was no doubt a controversial figure with disturbing views on eugenics, race, and population control. While some argue she even wanted to exterminate the Black race, others are trying to erase that part of her past.
The Mike Wallace Interview. In the eyes of some, Margaret Sanger has been a heroine. In the eyes of others, she's been a destructive force.
In her own words, Sanger pushed for a society that limited births to those she deemed fit to have children.
Well, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born.
In 1916, Sanger opened the country's first birth control clinic. As a member of the American Eugenics Society, she advocated improving the genetic composition of humans through controlled reproduction of different races and classes. She often wrote about the issue in the journal she founded, called the Birth Control Review. In 1919, writing,
I personally believe in the sterilization of the feeble-minded, the insane, and the syphilitic. The most urgent problem today is how to limit and discourage the over-fertility of the mentally and physically defective.
Many point to a 1923 New York Times interview as proof of Sanger's racist motives, in which she referred to people as weeds, saying,
It means the release and cultivation of the better racial elements in our society and the gradual suppression, elimination, and eventual extirpation of defective stocks, those human weeds which threaten the blooming of the finest flowers of American civilization.
Hayden Ludwig, an investigative researcher, has extensively studied Sanger's life and writings.
She talked about the need for race betterment through controlling these weeds, basically undesirable people.
In 1939, after opening another clinic in Harlem, the birth control activist launched the Negro Project, an initiative supported by Black leaders, such as civil rights activist W.E.B. Du Bois. Critics claim the program used the pretense of better health and family planning for poor Blacks in the South as an attempt to limit the Black race. Ludwig says some on the left grapple with Sanger's past and how to interpret her legacy.
They know when she writes about human weeds, they know that it's repulsive. They know it's disgusting. The left will never abandon Margaret Sanger, because if they do, she's the foundation of so many of their views.
Sanger once shared her vision for a preferred race at a women's branch of the Ku Klux Klan, writing in her autobiography,
Always, to me, any aroused group was a good group.
Despite those views, liberals praise Sanger's work, while ignoring her history.
I admire Margaret Sanger enormously. Her courage, her tenacity, her vision. I am really in awe of her.
Ryan Baumberger, founder of the Radiance Foundation, says abortion proponents are working to clean up Sanger's past and what she stood for.
They have to reinvent her every time they talk about her in order to justify their celebration of her.
Former Planned Parenthood Director Abby Johnson says those inside the abortion industry are trained to overlook Sanger's racist views.
They give you an answer like, well, I mean, yes, Margaret Sanger was a racist, but everybody was a racist back then. You accept it because she is your hero. And she has to be your hero. You cannot question Planned Parenthood.
In 1997, Stephen Mosher of the Population Research Institute wrote about the push to repackage Margaret Sanger in the Wall Street Journal.
The reason I call it the repackaging of Margaret Sanger is because after the Nazi regime destroyed the legitimacy of eugenics forever, they then went back and said, oh, she was just an early feminist. She was just an early supporter of family planning. No, she wasn't. No, she was a supporter of giving IQ tests to people. She was in favor of using those IQ tests to determine who should be sterilized and who should have children.
In a response titled The Demonization of Margaret Sanger, Alexander Sanger, her grandson and president of Planned Parenthood at the time, called Mosher's editorial unfair. In the same piece, Esther Katz, director of NYU's Margaret Sanger Papers Project, claimed evidence revealing Sanger did not rationalize her support for birth control on racist grounds, that she never advocated genocidal policies aimed at racial, ethnic, or religious groups, and that she, in fact, believed access to birth control would benefit, not eliminate minority populations. Dr. Katz turned down our request for an interview, although in this article, the editor as public authority interpreting Margaret Sanger, she wrote, by our current highly sensitized standards, some of her attitudes and statements can be construed as racist, elitist, ethnocentric, and not politically correct. In 1942, Margaret Sanger's American Birth Control League became Planned Parenthood, which has moved to fulfill its founders' goals, helped greatly by the Supreme Court decision in Roe v. Wade.
Under the veil of secrecy and deception, 60+ million babies have not been born because they were aborted legally since '73. 1/3 of that population belonged to the African American community.
A frightening and telling number given blacks make up only 13% of the U.S. population. Dan Gaynor of the Media Research Center says that Sanger's true mission remains alive and well throughout today's abortion industry.
Look at the maps. See where the abortion facilities are. They are near places where people are marginalized, people are poor, people are minority, and that's their target market.
Generation after generation, we have built a better world for our daughters.
Because of allies in the media and academia, Gaynor also points out how speech from conservatives and others about Sanger's past, Planned Parenthood practices, and abortion is often classified as hate speech.
There is nothing as close to a sacrament in the media as abortion. It is a holy writ that abortion is protected. And anybody who comes out against it, any organization, any business, anybody, the media swarm.
So does social media.
Facebook's new oversight board, and this is really concerning, has 4 co-chairs. And they're going to be the appeals board for content. Well, one of the 4 oversight board is on the board of an pro-abortion group. There's no pro-lifers. They're not there.
The problem also exists on many college campuses.
I remember at Harvard, they laughed when I was talking about the history of eugenics. And they said, that doesn't matter. Planned Parenthood is not like it was during Margaret Sanger's days.
Those who oppose her views say not true and are committed to exposing her past for future generations. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Coming up, comedian Michael Jr. delivers a healthy dose of laughter in his new feature film, and he is giving us an exclusive preview from Studio 5. That story in a moment.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Welcome back. Well, it is not too early to begin thinking about Father's Day, and comedian Michael Jr. has a plan to help you celebrate the dad in your life. He's starring in a new feature film titled Selfie Dad, and it's coming to your home Friday, June 19th. My colleague Ephraim Graham is in Studio 5 with an exclusive preview of the movie and a chat with Michael Jr.
My name is Ben Marcus. Somehow I found myself as the main editor of a reality TV show called
Rosie's Roses. You made me look like a moron, for heaven's sake.
I used to be a comic. That's where my heart is.
Well, dude, why are you out there running with it?
There's no way, man. I got a family. You're watching a video. That's not math.
This guy is funny. He has to be. He's a millionaire.
Millionaire?
He's a peasant.
What? And this is my very first video. I got 2 atheist friends. Every time I'm around them, I sneeze just to see what they're gonna say.
And of course, no disappointment, that scene from Selfie Dad, bringing the funny as he always does, the star of the film, Michael Jr., and he joins us now. What a great film. Before we get to the film, I mean, we're living in some interesting times. How are you coping in isolation with family in this day and age, Dad?
It is great. I actually really enjoy being around my kids. Sit yourself down. I really, this is like that's for me.
And the film that you're in just in time for Father's Day, Selfie Dad, how did you come to this project?
So Brad Silberman wrote this script, which was a really great story, and then he wanted me, and then I wanted to meet the guy just to kind of get a feel for if we could really pull this off, because the director is going to be extremely important as far as how this is portrayed. So he had a good story, and then I said, hey, man, if I do this, what kind of flexibility will I have? Can I kind of create on the spot? And he was like, that's why we want you.
Never knew you were that funny. The nominees this year are... I think I'm doing this all on my own. Have you ever seen the movie War Room? I don't really like Christian films.
So Selfie Dad is about a dad who is really, he used to do comedy, but now he's an editor. And Shonda Pierce, who's hysterical, plays my boss. She's hysterical. And but I'm miserable in this job, like miserable. And then I get an opportunity to start making YouTube videos and stuff starts taking off. And my character actually gets what he wants, but he's losing what he really needs.
Yeah.
Just the love of his family and to be the dad that he's really called to be.
I feel like this is so timely in light of all that we're going through, because we could certainly focus on the headlines, from police being, black man being stopped by a police officer, to COVID-19, to, I mean, just all the things we're going through. But this offers us two things: a lot of laughter, but also a lot of hope in the face of disaster that we're facing as a world right now.
I haven't seen these ingredients before. Think about it. You got faith, you got family, you got funny.
Mm-hmm. You got it.
One movie. First of all, Christians, we're not known for being funny. We're kind of known for being, some people think we're creepy. There's some creepy Christians out there. You know who you are, and if you don't, your friends know.
In doing this film, it's not just for people who are of faith, because we're talking about the Bible right now, but I want people to realize, and you can certainly attest to this, this is a film for everyone. It is going to make you laugh. It's going to touch your heart, whether you live in the church or you've never set foot in it.
Absolutely. It is for everybody, because what happens is, and it's not a comedy film, comedy just happens to happen to tell this story. But whenever you laugh, your heart is open, and then a deposit is going to be made. So whatever you do, you watch YouTube channels or you watch Netflix, if there's something there you're laughing, whatever the laughter, whatever context is around the laughter, is going into your heart, period.
Yeah.
So why not watch something that's going to make a positive deposit into your heart? And I'm telling you, you're really going to learn some stuff from this. And you won't even necessarily know what it is, but you may respond differently as a result afterwards, especially putting God's word in your heart. So I'm pumped about this, and the fact that we're not waiting around. We've decided to release it on Father's Day weekend on video on demand. You guys get to watch it at home. So watch the movie Selfie Dad, or do something during Father's Day to re-engage with that and recognize how awesome the Father is. So instead of looking at Father's Day like, oh, my dad was whack, look at it like, yo, my dad had lack, but this Father has no lack. So I got all that I need, I can get it done.
Selfie Dad, Father's Day weekend. I encourage everyone to watch it. Really appreciate your time. A blessing to talk to you always. Thank you.
As you heard, Michael Jr.'s Selfie Dad will stream to your home and on demand on Father's Day weekend. And for more entertainment news tonight on Studio 5, Ephraim Graham explores the issues of race, police brutality, and the growing protests in America through the lens of entertainment. That's tonight on Studio 5 at 9:30 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel. Well, that's it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here. Please email us at newswatch@cbn.com, or you can reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hope you will join us again next time. From all of us here from the Christian Broadcasting Network, have a fantastic day. Goodbye and God bless.